We're back once again at the Role Center. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by looking at the quality associations that we have. So quality associations is a setup that we drive that allows for us to really understand what we're going to be binding to in terms of the actual action in the system. And I think it'll make more sense when I talk to you a little bit about it right here. So if I click on the output item that we have in here, basically what I'm saying is that if I have an inventory transaction, so if a person finds a part on the side of the aisle in the manufacturing or warehouse area and adds that part into inventory, do we want to generate a quality order to test that? If I have a customer that I'm selling it to, do I want to generate a quality to test that? A vendor, obviously, so on a purchase order when it comes inbound, do I want to, which is production output that we were talking about, do I want to test that? And then work centers and machine centers, which are basically routing operations. So anytime then a part comes to this particular work center, you should always do this type of a test. We can define all those areas in which a quality order can then be automatically triggered and created so that an end user needs to go through and then input the results of that particular quality order as part of the setup. Other aspects of this too, we can filter by quality groups, meaning maybe you have a group of parts that are the same quality test that you always want to do with it. You can define it as a specific group, you can do it on a specific item, or you can do it for basically all parts as part of the processing as well. In this example, when something is produced as part of production and it's this specific item number, I want a quality order to be generated. And if it's for this specific location, so if you have multiple facilities, maybe you want to have a different quality test based off of that facility or location. You can define that within Business Central. And down here is where we then define the specifications for the actual quality order, meaning when we actually create this particular quality order, if I look at my test group, I want to make sure, if I go and select from the full list here, and I manage this test group and just view it really quickly, that these two tests occur, an impedance value and a cone weight, as part of that process. And this is not a destructive test. So that is where we can actually go through and define then what is that test group. We can also define whether or not there's an acceptable quality level, meaning if you had a 50% quality level and you had two parts that were, or three parts that went through it, if two of the three passed, well then that would be acceptable and it wouldn't block that inventory or wouldn't quarantine it. And then lastly, for example, in our item sampling code, this is where we can then define whether or not we want to block that inventory as it goes through this quality test. So therefore, it cannot be used on subsequent inventory transactions as part of that processing. So this is where we can go through and then define that and also define starting and ending dates that are related to it. A couple things to note: if you have links such as attachments or notes that you want to have for this, for example, I added a quick note here, and so this is quality order will be generated for the hearing aid upon production output. You can add this information inside of these fact boxes to then reference additional ancillary information that may not be related specifically then to data inside of Business Central, but you can at least have it then linked to get to that information.